And we're back on BKP Good Morning from the Office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Now, before we start, I want everyone to know all candidates in every race have been invited to come and sit down. Now, I have done a series called Camera Candidates and Issues, where I invite both candidates to sit down at the same time and participate in a debate. So just to let everybody know out there, David Ralston was invited this morning, and his campaign declined to be here, but he was invited. I'm here with 7th District candidate Sam Snider. Mr. Snider, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. My name is Sam Snider, and I'm asking for your vote, District 7 House of Representatives. I know Brian will remind me to ask for your vote again, but I just want to make clear I definitely am asking for your vote.
Well, and I'm asking for actually everybody out there and yourself to pull me through. I went to bed about 1:15 this morning. I was fielding phone calls last night, and I was trying to work on some video. And folks, you guys are sending messages left and right, so I'm going to try to stay focused. And
Right.
What's upsetting to me is I pride myself on being focused. And so every once in a while when I get off target, it bothers me if I'm not focused. That being said, the question I get most with you is there's a lot of different questions, but the question I think I get most is, why are you running? I mean, I get that most. Why are you running for this office?
My son Joshua was able to help explain that to someone, because I'm not actually a person who likes the limelight. I try to push my other coaches forward, push the wrestlers to the limelight when I've coached all these years, and grateful for all the success we had. But 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I became aware that the politics in the House of Representatives were not what I consider equal representation. And I felt it was time, with the situation in our country, to me, seeming to go down, to step up as a citizen of this community and offer an alternative. And so as an amateur 2 years ago, we ran, and we did quite well. And I've learned a lot since then, and the concerns I had back then of taxes being increased, religious freedom bills, 2 of those being blocked the last 2 years. Some of the campaign promises were not kept. And so I said, if the campaign promises of cutting taxes and cutting regulation and equal representation were not met, that I would definitely run again. And I think we have not just a problem from 2 years ago, I think we have a worse problem from 2 years ago. As we see on the national level, there's unrest, there's great frustration with established politicians, and I think it's time that we take our country back. I think it's time we take our state back, and we send people who are simply citizens working in our community to represent us, and that's why I'm running.
Well, when you say, in some ways, it's worse than the last time you ran, what itemize some things that you think are worse in your eyes than the last time you ran?
We could begin with the Religious Freedom Bill. That was put forth and passed in the Senate in 2015 and 16 and brought to the House, and neither time was it voted on. Even Sam Teasley brought it to the House specifically and dropped the bill, and it wasn't voted on. So we then received a pasture protection bill that got 161 out of 180 votes. And that's awesome, but it only protects pastors, and I, as a pastor myself at the Word Church, I don't even need protection. My ability to decide who I would marry or not marry is up to me as a pastor, because it's really a judge who determines the marriage license. And so I thought that was kind of a smokescreen. Well, I just don't appreciate being told that a person supports religious freedom while blocking the very bill that is identical to what was from 1993 on the federal level. So RFRA was a problem for me. And then the bill we got, instead of 161 votes like we got for pastor protection, we got 104. And then all we needed was 15 more. 10 people had been excused from the vote, and the speaker hadn't voted, which he normally doesn't unless it's needed to put something over the top. So the other 15 votes, could they not have been found? Could we not have went to session for another day and overrode Governor Deal's veto? That was that was difficult for me. And then the second one is obviously $830 million to $1 billion is the estimated amount that was increased for the transportation, through the Transportation Act. The DOT went from a $2 billion budget to a $3 billion budget. Their own website says it's a $1 billion tax increase. And yet my opponent campaign said he's cut taxes. If spending went from $23 billion to over $24.7 billion next year, and $1 billion of new taxes, how is that a tax cut? I just want people to be honest. They're saying lies that I am against hunting. My sons have hunted since they were 10 years old. I hunted since I was 12.
Where do they get that? I mean, where do they get that? Because
what is
the difference? I tell you what, do this for me. And tell me the difference in the voters out there, constitutional carry. What is the difference? What do you actually support in legislation, and where do they actually come to and arrive at that you're against?
Correct.
Somebody hunting with their dad or grandfather?
There are two ways that we need to look at this. First of all, where do I stand? At 12 years old in Missouri, I got my hunter safety course. I was able to start hunting. My dad at 13 years old purchased me my own .22 rifle for Christmas. I still remember getting up and finding that and excited about it. And I would go hunting squirrels with my cousins prior to that in Iowa when we would visit. So we've always hunted. I'm not an avid deer hunter, but I remember taking my sons to Randy Durden's home, and he has some property there, and I was with my youngest son, David, in the tree stand when he killed his first deer, and Randy had the opportunity to hunt with Joshua. So we've been a hunting family. My son Joshua's got a carry license, and I think that the constitutional Second Amendment to carry is vital. We keep chopping away at it, and we're having to rebuild our rights for that. And this is to go on to the second answer. Well, with the first answer, I have the right to carry a weapon, but another person has property rights. And so we have to find legislation to, let's say that, well, the state capitol doesn't want guns in the state capitol unless you're a policeman. So there are still some places where we can't carry, but a true constitutional carry right would be able to carry anywhere. And so, of course, Nathan Deal vetoed the campus carry. And I would think a 21-year-old with a carry license should be able to carry their gun for their safety on college campus. Now, where did it all begin against me? January 22nd was a Friday. We had just won the state championship the Friday and Saturday before in Macon, and we were getting ready for the next state championship. And I was looking, as the session was beginning, I was looking for bills that are constitutional carry and that would reduce fees. One of the gun owner folks, one of the gun rights guys said, hey, y'all look, check out this bill. It does take away the fee. And so I put a link on there and I said, I am for constitutional carry. Check this link. That's all I put. And so people looked at that. And then I filed down through there. I read that it got rid of the fee. Good. But then I read that it allowed for hunting to be limited. And so I immediately talked to, through email, the sponsor of that bill. And I said, sir, why does this limit hunting for teenagers? And he said, we're early in the session. We're going to remove that part. I said, well, until you remove that, I can't honor that. I can't go with HB 543. Can't do it.
But it did say that. So are you saying that you would make sure, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly, that at first glance it looked good. But if you were elected and there's a bill sitting in front of you on your table where your designated area is and it's laid there, you would read through it carefully before you vote, though?
I would always read through before I vote, and always carefully. And luckily, because there's so many bills, there's about 20 men in the House right now who have made a union together, and they all work together to read the bills because there's so many that flood them at the end, and they work as a combination. On that bill, as I read it, I realized it limits things that I would never limit. So I'm totally opposed to HB 543. And my Facebook post for the months following that continued to say, I'm against HB 543. I am for hunting by teenagers. I'm going to take my grandson hunting. I just purchased about a month ago my first Glock. I need to have a handgun to go with my shotguns and different things that I own. But it's very frustrating when a fake website is brought up and one little post is put on the fake website, and then my opponent takes ads to refer to the fake website as if it's me, and it's got my name, my picture, and we're doing everything we can. We're going to the courthouse today to try to get that website pulled down. It's going to take a subpoena because you can do this in a way that hides the identity of the people that did it. But it just so happens it's managed by the same group that manages my opponent's website. So we're doing everything we can to end this lie, but how can people believe that a 30-year public educator is against public education? It's not true. And so this thing on the hunting, I look forward to continue to fight for our Second Amendment rights, hold on to them as precious as they are, and time with your grandpa with a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old out hunting, that's vital. I love the time I have in the woods with my sons. I just hate that we use half of what's actually there to bring about a lie against someone who's been in this community for 40 years.
Well, let's go another direction.
Yes, sir.
Let's go another direction here. There was a lot of time in transportation studies, a lot of time in public hearings, transportation studies. A lot of time was put into that, and they did pass the transportation bill. Now, it changes the excise tax. I do not want to try to explain it because to me it's confusing. But at the end of the day, it did raise taxes. It did raise taxes. Now, I, for one, am not, maybe there's a time when $30 more a year per person, if you're getting the value, is worth it. I don't know. So I'm just going at that direction. Do you not think they needed to do something where transportation was concerned? And do you not think some of that is really benefiting North Georgia?
I think that making it a level income flow was better than a fluctuating one. But it was still a consumption tax. Prior to this latest bill, it was a 7%. Only problem is DOT only got 3 of the 7%. The 4th% had been stolen by the normal budget and not given to DOT. And the other 3% was already going to the regular budget. So yes, there was a need for it not to be a fluctuating amount. So they made an excise, 26 cents for gas and 29 cents for diesel. But if you think about 7% on $2 a gallon gas is 14 cents. 26 cents on $2 gas is still 26 cents. So it's almost double the amount of money going in there. The DOT is, our politicians pride themselves on saying that 8,000 jobs were removed from the DOT in the past 6 years. Well, they didn't just disappear. Those people went and became pavers and contractors and became private businessmen, which is a good thing. So we reduced the entire staff of DOT by a large amount. But those people are still being paid and they're on the payroll, except they're now getting it through DOT bids. And so then I follow that link around to ethics and I look to see who has been giving funds to my opponent, who has been giving funds to establishment politicians. The same people who left the roll call, the financial roll call of DOT, are now on it in the other side. And so to keep that money flowing, they put it over there and they give money to my opponent. And that's their right to do that. But DOT had to go up 50% when we were 13th in the country on our roads, and our roads compared to South Carolina are much better, and Tennessee is much better. Our roads are doing pretty good. Yes, we need to continue to work on infrastructure, but we created a problem. We created an emergency that wasn't an emergency. And instead of just simply making more money, like a $5 hotel motel tax is added that my wrestling team had to pay for every time we traveled this past year, that cost people on the border of different states another $5 for a $50 room is a 10% increase, and $50 to $100 for each vehicle that's on the road, and it cost our bus garage $7,500 more this year. Those taxes are real money that's coming out of our pockets. So it was not a simple thing of just, hey, we'll give $1 billion more to solve the road problem. Why didn't we just cut some other things in the state budget that's went up $5.4 billion in the last 6 years and give some of that money over to DOT? Or give back some of the 7% that we began with. I'm not opposed to being a set amount per gallon. But this idea that we've got to keep raising taxes is insane. And to think that we can say it's a tax cut, we've cut spending. How do you go from $23 billion to $24.7 billion and say you cut spending? You didn't.
Okay, we're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to look at several more things and issues in the 7th District. I'm here with candidate for State House 7th District for Georgia, Sam Snider. Lonnie, take us to break.
Doug Collins can't defend his own record, what does he do? He tries to divert our attention from his record, and he's diverting it onto Paul Brown. He is refusing to stand up and talk to us about his record. He wants to talk to us about Windstream. Any congressman that's sitting up there is going to try to help the people with their issues with Windstream. Any congressman sitting up there is going to try to help their people when the Corps of Engineers changes the rules on pulling water out to water your grass. Any congressman will do that. But will any congressman go up there and vote against omnibus bill? Will any congressman go up there and stand for the 9th District instead of standing for Washington? Will any congressman go up there and tell Washington what the 9th District wants instead of coming back here and telling us why Washington has to have his way? I'll tell you, no, not just any congressman will. Let Doug Collins come back and sit down and get out of our hair.
This is Mike Scoopine, and I approve this message.
Paid by Scoopine for Congress.
Trust. Round here, we trust people who get things done. Like our state representative, David Ralston. He's cut taxes and balanced the state budget every year. And Ralston delivers. New roads, new jobs, a new university, and the toughest immigration laws in America. Those Washington guys talk big, but never deliver. Round here, we trust David Ralston. Ralston gets it done.
Doug Collins has been a bad representative for the 9th District.
How bad is it?
Doug is such a bad representative that he won't even represent himself against his challengers for the 9th District seat. Well, that's pretty easy to understand. After all, showing up to defend a record like Doug's is a pretty tall order. Since taking office, Doug has voted with the House leadership over 90% of the time. Doug voted for Boehner for Speaker twice. He voted to spy on you, to bail out Wall Street banks in advance of the next crisis, to train Islamic radicals to take down foreign governments that pose no threat. Doug voted for the Omnibus, voted to fund every Title X Planned Parenthood appropriation, and then has the nerve to try to sell you that he did not vote to fund abortion. If you want a representative who will work tirelessly to undo every wrong Doug Collins has done against the will of the 9th District, vote for Mike Scoopine, a proven leader protecting the U.S. Constitution.
This is Mike Scoopine, and I approve this message.
Paid by Scoopine for Congress.
In 2015, our Gilmer County Probate Court heard over 1,300 criminal cases, 250 estate and guardianship matters, and probated or administered 110 plus wills. Those are very serious issues, and experience matters. We talked about the fact that every county with more than 96,000 people has a licensed attorney as their probate judge. The state requires it. They don't hear different cases. They don't hear different matters, and I don't believe that the due process you receive when you go to the probate court should be based off the county you live in. You want to have a judge who's been there, who's been on the other side of the bench, who's argued that, who knows it, and who can help you. Because compassion isn't always just about being able to listen, but it's being able to do something when you do listen. Experience matters, and I will use my experience in my private practice, in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and in 2 judges' chambers for the people of Gilmer County.
With early voting starting May the 2nd and the primary beginning on May the 24th, you'll be voting to elect leaders to several offices here in Fannin County. When it comes to the Chief Magistrate, you need someone that demonstrates honesty, integrity, and experience. Since being appointed by the Superior Court judges, I've made it my passion to uphold the same values and principles as the Honorable Judge before me. Whether it is answering the call when our community needed me or operating under budget during my term as Chief Magistrate, it's clear that throughout my 11 years of experience, I have always had Fannin County's best interests at heart. So this May, vote for the right choice. Vote for honesty, integrity, and experience. Vote to keep Sherry Walker.
And we're back. I'm BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. And my guest this morning is candidate for Georgia State House 7th District, Sam Snider. Mr. Snider, now let's get into campaign finance. Let's get into a couple things here. Let's discuss that. I know many people have sent me messages on the David Ralston's campaign finance. But the Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission, you've got a couple fines there.
Paid this morning. Thank you.
You paid your fines this morning?
Yes. What happened was there was no notification, but I saw that it was posted on Facebook. I immediately went online this morning and paid the late fee. I think it was for June 2014.
There's one. Let me get those for the public because I have them. So we're clear on it. 12/13/2014. There was one for $125, and then 6/30/2015.
Yes, both those
$125.
two were not brought up until today. It was actually last night. I saw it on a Facebook post. So I paid those this morning. Contacted, I believe her name is Maria, and also D'Angelo.
Even the one for
that one
$313?
was resolved. If you'll look that one up, it's gone. What happened was that I had to file into a new account, and they didn't transfer my data. So I talked to Maria Belize this morning. I've actually got the email here where she's paid for that. Not paid for it, but took it off because it was already filed March 31st. But when they changed it to the other number, they didn't move it over, so it did an automatic fee. I have an email from her that she's taken that off. All fees are taken care of. I was a few days late back in 2014 and 2015. Got those settled, $125 a piece, settled this morning, paid for. There are no liens or fines on me finance whatsoever. You have to look it up again. You'll see it's all gone.
Okay, so anything that has to do with that, all the fines are taken care of.
Yes, and I think they must come. It must be a certain time of the year they come back and look at those because I have never had a fine until yesterday. I've never had a fee until yesterday. And once I found out about it, I went ahead and paid it, took care of it. And the one that was just a mistake between two different numbers, it was solved immediately.
AJC, sometimes I'm cautious with using them as a reference.
Right.
But AJC has done a pretty tough story this morning on House Speaker Ralston's, what they're calling secret political fund. Have you read that article?
Yes, happen to have the article with me.
Well, what's your take?
My take is that the man stands up there, and 2 years ago, people were concerned because they said, Sam Snider, it's not just him running. There's people from outside that are upset with David Ralston. Well, those people didn't manage my campaign last time, but I listened. And what I figured out is you want people from Gilmer and Fannin and one section of Dawson. You want those folks to represent. So my campaign fund this year has come up from people who are in this district. Now, it's $10,000, $12,000 what we raised, and we're spending it. Well, if you look at my opponents, 4% of his came from this district, and 96% came from outside the district. So the $500,000 he's raised since July of last year, look at on the ethics and find out where it comes from. Who's paying for his campaign? And then we find out about this fund, this secret fund that was made as a conservation fund. And once you receive over $50,000, you have to file. You have to file with Georgia Ethics. You have to file as a campaign company. And when you spend more than $25,000 of that fund, you have to file. Well, both those things have happened. And this AJC article, the over $60-something thousand this past year has not been filed. And company would give $1,500 to his campaign fund under ethics that had to be filed. Then they give another $10,000 over here in this fund that wasn't being filed. You want to talk about dark money and dirty politics? I have run this campaign that I have off the backs of the people who love me and support me. My own mother and father gave another $1,000 just to fight these lies that are on TV about me and on the radio saying that I don't support hunting. Campaign finance has to be changed. These incumbents are entrenched with hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes $1 million, to run against an honest man who's just trying to come and represent, and we can't pay for the airtime that he has. There's no way. And sound bites out there that are lies about a website that I didn't even make that has my name and picture on it. We've got to do something about campaign finance because my opponent smiles and says that he's all for campaign finance reform, and then we see here this morning, he's got a secret fund over here, over $67,000 in it that he can use whatever he wants. No accountability. Let's just get the truth of it.
I'm seeing this.
Yes.
It's the Ralston Conservative Leadership
And look
Fund.
who runs it. a person who lives in Blue Ridge who also manages what DOT things are done for Blue Ridge. The same person runs that conservative fund. And she's supposed to be the one who's helping to handle DOT projects in Fannin County. A little bit of a conflict of interest, wouldn't you say? You have to search deeper to find out who that person is. I'm not going to say it on the air.
Well, the person are you talking about Emily Dunn? Mm-hmm. Well, I said on the air because, I mean, I have not researched this, but I wouldn't care to say if you're going to bring up the person that handles transportation in North Georgia or transportation, I know who she is.
And then she handles an unaccountable fund, a conservative fund.
I hadn't had time to research that. So you're telling me
look in the article, AJC.
She handles this fund.
Emily Dunn is the one who treasures
The Ralston
that.
Conservative Leadership
Yes,
Fund.
sir. She's the one listed under the contacts.
And what you're telling me this morning, because folks, I have not had time to research this, but what you're telling me this morning is you can donate to his campaign fund.
Up to $2,600 per person for each cycle.
And then you could turn around and donate here.
Whatever you want into that fund, and they're supposed to file that. But since it's a 527 fund, it doesn't have to go through all the areas until it reaches a certain amount. Well, it's reached that amount, and they haven't filed the ethics at all. And people can give to him, support him. We're talking about Pfizer stock. We're talking about hospitals. We're talking about contractors. We're talking about people who want things done in Washington that don't even live in this county, don't even live in this district, giving money around here in a back way to help out the representative we now have.
Okay, all right. Let's just say this. All right, let's go there with what short time we have. Let's say this. Okay, now for argument's sake, he is the Speaker of the House.
Yes.
Okay. Now, a lot of times I hear speeches and discussions about what the district could lose if we don't have the Speaker of the House. So let's go over a couple things. There has been North Georgia College, the college. There's been money for ball fields. There's been Atlanta Gas and Light. There has been things, widening of Highway 5. There has been things take place in the 7th District, okay, that if maybe you're the representative, do they forget about us down in Atlanta? I mean, I guess where I'm going is it that important to be the Speaker of the House? Or if, just to say it like this, if the people trade and say, hey, we want Sam Snider, where's that leave the 7th District? Let's stay there for a minute.
Let's start with the gas light. I've got the line running by my house that they put in a couple of years ago, and it doesn't feed my house. It only feeds the chicken houses on my road, which is a good thing that they're feeding the chicken houses with natural gas. But I, as a consumer, don't get the benefit of that. And yet I had to deal with all the construction that occurred over a year-long period. That's fine. Speaker of the House, 2010 until 2014, where was he? What did we get then? Let's go back to 2014. When was it announced that $540,000 went to the ball field? A week before the election. When was it announced that $1 million showed up for a North Georgia college? A week before the election. Would any of that happen had I not run? Let's just be honest about it. It was a campaign ploy. And even this Saturday, we're going out to ball fields to celebrate the $540,000 given 2 years ago. That wasn't given to us by David Ralston. That's our tax money. Our tax money. It's just like a politician to say, I took your tax money and I gave it back to you as a gift. No, sir. It's our money. So we should work hard in the House of Representatives to make sure all 180 representatives districts are covered and that money is distributed equally, not for pandering politics because you agree with someone and you want to get reelected, but it should be equally distributed to the needs. And if you look at the next 18 months on the DOT, there's only one project in Fannin. There's a traffic light in Gilmer and one paving project in Gilmer for the next 18 months. So we waited 16 years in Fannin County for Highway 5 to be widened. 16 years. You really think it's going to happen tomorrow night? It's another campaign situation. We're using people's tax dollars to prop up and support career politicians to keep them in office. And then where do we see them after that? They're not representing us. They're representing the people who gave them money in Atlanta.
So are you telling folks that if elected, that you feel that you could represent them and they won't see a difference in North Georgia and they won't be able to say in 6 months, oh, well, we used to have a Speaker of the House and Now we don't, so North Georgia is suffering or something. I mean, I don't know where I'm going with
North
this.
Georgia won't suffer. We have to end the type of politics that pulls money out of somebody's district because they just don't agree with the governor on something, which happened to Josh McCoons and $10 million pulled out of his district by a line item veto after the session. 100,000 more taken out last week. We've got to stop that kind of bully politics. Now, if you just want a politician that's going to go down there and just get all they can for us, and just bankrupt the rest of the state, all right, then you need somebody else. If you want someone who will go down there and fight for what we already gave them in tax dollars to be returned to our county and our district to take care of our roads and take care of the things that we need in the services, I will always do that. I will fight for us, but I'll also fight for other issues that are also vital here. Religious freedom is an issue. Equal representation in the House is an issue. It should not be ruled by one person and we just happen to get a gift come election time. We should have continuous reflection in our county of what we have sent in tax dollars to be returned. It should be for the good of our county, and every representative, me included, when I'm down there, will be able to fight for those kind of things, and I will fight hard for our county. If we can bypass the lies that have been put out there about me and we can look at the truth, I'm a representative that represents you.
Let me ask you a question. Last night I seen, I'm going to use the number of 2,000
There was a
people.
lot of people. Yes, sir,
All right,
Brian.
I'm going to use, and this is the issue today, folks, and it's national.
Huge.
I seen about 2,000 people last night in Fannin County, right there in the district you're running for. So if you're the representative, would you fight for those people that were there last night? Now, here for me, and I'm always careful, Mr. Snider. I'm always careful with not getting my personal feeling into it, but I
Right.
was there. And I was 30 foot away from what I call passion for 3 hours of
Yes.
citizens, okay?
Yes.
And I have it on the video and I talk about that. I want our representative to represent that school board because they're citizens. I want our
Yes.
representative to represent the attorney, the county Board of Education attorney. But what I think the people want is, I want to hear, would you represent those 2,000 people? Would you go to distance, even if it wasn't popular, to maybe introduce a bill that had something that had something that dealt with transgender bathrooms? I mean, I know that's an issue that has come up late in this campaign.
Yes.
But it's here.
But this issue has been here all year. It's just those who knew didn't bring it up until right before the campaign. That's the problem. This issue didn't happen yesterday, 2 weeks before school's out. This issue's been here. Now let's talk about it from this standpoint. At no point should any child ever be discriminated against, ever, any child. But in the same light, if that one child feels like they may be a transgender student, the other thousands of students should not also be trampled as far as their rights to be able to go to a restroom. Now, I don't know about you, but I can remember being in middle school, and it would have terrified me to think that that a girl was walking into a boy's restroom. And I can't imagine if my granddaughter, when she enters school at some point, if she's going to the restroom, what she would think about having a boy in the bathroom with her. That's common sense. That one's not complicated whatsoever. So I felt the heartbeat of those folks last night. I thought that Anthony Walden especially did a fantastic job of passionately saying where we stand in this district. We have beliefs that we stand upon. Now, if Washington wants to continue to push down our throats a transgender or decision about that, thinking that Title IX refers to that, then that's another reason why the Department of Education on the federal level needs to be gone. Local and state people need to be in control of these things. But that does not mean we would ever harm or disenfranchise or in any way discriminate against any child, because there are kids going through very difficult things throughout the school. But it doesn't have to go over to say that now she or he, wonderful child that they may be, can just enter the bathroom of their choice that is opposite of what they were born as. That's not a difficult question. We're in our society of going down that long road. It's a terrifying way to go, but that's an easy one to answer. Yes, I would definitely support, as your representative, legislation to make sure that all children's privacy is protected.
Well, thank you very much. We've only got 5 minutes left here before we have to close today. And don't forget, folks, stay tuned right after this for North Georgia's only live online morning newscast, The Morning Report with Kevin Hensley. Mr. Snider, thanks for coming in. Why don't you wrap it up for us today and give us whatever final statement you'd like to make.
Thank you very much. My name is Sam Snider. I am asking for your vote this week, Saturday, all the way through May 24th, next week and the week after, May 24th. I have been a 40-year member of this community. I came here in 1977. My father became a veterinarian in his late 30s. He decided to go to college after having no college prior to that in Columbia, Missouri, and got a college degree in veterinary medicine. And he helped to eliminate bangs and brucellosis in the cow population in North Georgia. Worked himself out of a job, actually. Then became the head of the importation center in Key West, and then also became the head over Missouri, and then came back and retired at 80 years old, lives up above me in a house that we were able to build for him. With his money, he just helped me to build it. And my mother, same thing. Wonderful person. Worked many jobs to keep me and my two sisters going, and has given me a legacy of hard work. That hard work came into a wrestling state championship myself in 1981, the first wrestling state champion for our county. Went on to college, got a bachelor's, a master's, a specialist, have taught in this school system for 25 years. Led our wrestling program to 17 state championships. That's unheard of. Pulling people together for a common purpose. And the people in this community, they know me. They know my reputation as a pastor for the last 3 years. They know my reputation as a coach and a teacher. And don't believe lies. Don't believe fake websites. Don't believe ads that try to say that I'm against hunting. I am not against hunting. I will support your Second Amendment rights. My sons and I will continue to hunt, and my grandchildren will learn how to hunt, because hunting is a part of a way of life that we have here. So pass the word. Sam Snider is for hunting. And secondly, I'm for public education, and I'm for educational choice by parents. Parents locally and state control, state, local, and parent control, always of education, because our children are precious. And as a 30-year public educator, I am for education, and I am for public education. It was brought up on the website about privatization. We privatize who mows our fields. We privatize our custodial staff. There's things that private industry can do in education, but we're not going to take public education and make it private. It's not going to happen. People who want private education have a choice. They can send their money to a private school, Christian school. We've got great Christian schools in this community. I need your vote. I need your support. I need you to spread the truth that I, who you've known for your entire time here, some of y'all have known me my entire 40 years when I was bagging groceries at Thrift Town for Charlie Waters, when I was working at Permacelt Mill for Carl Hill, when I was loading wood at Kiker Supply. I've done all these things in this community. You know me. You know who I am. And I honestly am asking for your vote, and I will represent you with truth and honesty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snider. As we tell all the candidates, no matter who they are, when they come in here, we say thank you very much from FetcherNews.com. We wish you well, and we appreciate your willingness to serve your community.
Appreciate it, Brian.
Before we close here, don't forget, up next, Kevin Hensley, The Morning Report, North Georgia's only live online morning newscast. So stay tuned after these brief messages. And, I want to make also clear that Mr. David Ralston was invited this morning. All candidates have been invited. We exclude no candidates here at FetcherNews.com. We believe in the process. We don't get involved in the money. We don't get involved or swayed in any way. It's the process and only the process that your host here believes in, and I feel all candidates should get the opportunity to ask for your vote. That being said, it's the end of our broadcast, and I promise Monday that I will smoke about a half dozen cigars, cheap cigars, between now and Monday, and I will relax, and I will come back rested and ready to tell you what I really think. Monday morning at 8 a.m. Good morning from the office. BKP, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Don't try that at home, kids. I mean, try going to the bathroom where you're supposed to. Lonnie, get us out of here.